Behind the Hooks with Manny DeGrandis and Daniel Panetta.
Welcome back.
Hi, Manny DeGrandis.
Hi, Daniel.
I'm stuck on the carpet.
Yeah, the carpet's not long enough. We have to buy a longer carpet.
Yeah.
Once the money starts rolling in from our sponsors, Alba's, Scott.
Listen, if this Scottish Ale Company wants to sponsor, this is a great beer.
Yeah, I enjoyed this very much.
Williams Brothers Brewing Company, product of Scotland.
That's funny because I was watching a Jack Bruce interview. He's Scottish.
My girlfriend's father gave this to me because he knows that I like craft beer, and he provided me with some hot sauce and some ale. So thank you, Tim, for that.
So what's going on?
We've had some pretty cool episodes lately, man.
So let's keep the information train rolling.
Agreed.
It's funny because thinking about auditions and almost miss auditions a bit.
It's an interesting process, isn't it? Like it kind of keeps you on your toes. It keeps you on top of your game.
Exactly.
And it puts you in environments that you wouldn't otherwise be in unless you were auditioning for them. So auditions are really cool. I advise. I mean, obviously, right now auditions are going on, but don't look down on auditions so much because you learn so much during them. You really do. It doesn't matter what type of audition there is. And I think we should touch upon there's a lot of different types of auditioning.
Exactly.
When we were auditioning for school, that was as stressful as it could get. But looking back at it, the process was pretty standard, and as long as you knew your shit, you were going to be fine, Yeah,
I always find school auditions crazy because from teaching so many years and teaching students, I know for a fact that a lot of my students that didn't get in, they ruined their audition by being so stressed. I mean, they're young, they're 18, 17.
Stress is the biggest saboteur, man.
And it's like, they're in the room with me and they're playing their pieces perfectly and they know everything, and then when they get there, I think the trick to me when I went in for Humber was I knew nothing about jazz. I wasn't into jazz yet, and it was a shot in the dark, and I decided to go. And I had my classical piece really ready, and I had my theory ready, so any of the, the scale, these triads, sure, of course. Easy peasy. And then they're like, okay, we're time for your jazz song, and I'm like, I don't know it, right? Which I thought that might have ruined me, but it got me into, back then there was the pre-music program, so.
Right.
Luckily for that, or else I would have had, and what I did was spent the year learning jazz. Trying to learn jazz.
Were you walking by when you were going into Humber? Like, were you doing those changes and knowing jazz idiom that way?
No, I knew nothing about jazz during pre, and that's where I learned. So then when I did do my audition, that's where I was okay. Oh, I get it.
Do you remember your audition stuff?
I do actually a lot. I did for the first audition. I did both auditions. I did the Bach cello pieces.
Nice.
Just because that's what I was told to do, and it made sense and it fit nicely on the bass, and I recognized the songs, and it was hard to find sheet music.
Yeah, that's another thing. Looking for sheet music was a nightmare.
A nightmare, right? For a bass player.
Because the Cosmos Super Center wasn't a thing yet, where they have the sheet music archive.
You buy it online.
You had to buy it online, and you had to wait a month for it to come in, and then you had to practice.
Yeah, I went to the conspiracy.
Pretty much.
The conservatory down on Bloor or whatnot, and I remember getting whatever.
What was that? Remini Music?
Yeah, there's Remini Music down there, and I got it. But when I did for the year after I did I did giant steps.
Oh, you went balls to the wall.
I know, and it was funny because we actually in our class we tried in our bass class during pre we actually did a mock audition and played our songs in front of the class. Nice.
Yeah, I do remember. I did the pre-program as well, and I do remember doing
and that was great, but everybody just laughed at me, like, you fool, like, trying. But what I did stupidly was I played, and thank God for doing that, was because I played the melody up to speed, but then I did half, I walked, but in halftime. So but no, not because I couldn't walk that fast. So I played the melody at 200, but then walked in at 100 and went, yeah, you know, and it's like, no, like you're not.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I so that was really dumb. So thank God for
baby, man.
So thank God that they, you know, they you know.
For those of you who don't know, walking is a technique used for mostly jazz players.
But that's how
standards
dumb like you are as a kid, right? Which is why you should be, you know, finding a good, and nowadays it's so easy, but finding a good teacher to help you get through those processes.
Is finding a good teacher that easy?
No, but it's easier now with Facebook, and because that's my other point was going into Humber and doing my audition. I wasn't scared because I knew what I was and what it was. Either I'm going to get in or not. And I've always lived that way with all auditions. Yeah. I'm either going to get it or not. I am what I am, and I hope they like me. And I hope that, you know, that there isn't 48 good bass players. Hopefully there's just 20, and they're taking 20 or whatever, right? So I didn't look up the teachers. So I didn't know how good the teachers were. Where now I know with a lot of my students, they're freaking out because I'm like, no, yes, they're fantastic players, right? But they are teachers. So they want to give you that knowledge.
Yeah, they're there to help you.
You're not auditioning to be in their band.
No.
You're auditioning to be in their class. And if you're a teacher, and I know at least all the teachers I had at Humber and just meeting other teachers at York University or whatever, they're amazing people.
Yeah.
And they want to teach, and they're they could play.
Yeah.
But they want to help you get there, and they're so supportive. So you got to get that out of your head first. If you're auditioning for a school, you got to remember that you're auditioning for a school.
Yeah.
Not for a band.
It is, and it's so hard to keep that in your mind in that stage of your life, because it's a big step. It is a big step. You're taking a risk with joining this kind of livelihood already, and now you're taking a risk in bettering yourself in this craft that, you know, people can't live without what we do. So don't think of it so much as, yeah, like you said, like I'm not as good as, or I can't do what they do. You're not doing it for that reason. You're doing it to get to that point. And it's an additional part of your life for self-betterment. And if you keep that in your mind somehow, and I know the stresses of it kind of get the best of you, but by keeping that in your mind, you're gonna have a really beneficial audition with great critiques. Because those critiques make us better. Mm-hmm. They really do. Listen to
them. And what's great now too is you could actually take lessons with those teachers.
You can
email them and be like, hey, you know, and then
that does get your foot in the door, but it also doesn't guarantee you a spot. You really have to absorb it. Like you really do.
And if the good thing is if you're a good person and a hard worker, they will fight for you.
They'll put in a reference. They will.
Be like, you know what, I've seen this kid go from nothing to something within the 4 months or whatever, and he deserves a shot. You know, I remember first day of Humber, they said not all of you will graduate, and I forget what the percentage was. And that's not a bad thing. Some people did leave to tour and join bands or do other things, and some people. You know, but I remember that being a thing going.
Our numbers were staggering. The drop.
Yeah, because it's school, right? And when you're a musician or an artist of some sort, school is usually not the easiest thing for you because your mind doesn't think that way, and or you know, you got to play the game.
Yeah.
There is a game to getting marks.
Yeah. No, there totally is. Man.
And you need to. I know a lot of musicians. They're friggin' love playing with them, but man, like to get them to the gig on time, right? And showered.
Yeah.
Like,
look, there's so much that goes into audition prep. I don't want this to be an episode about audition prep because it boils my fucking blood. But I think that auditioning, there's an etiquette. Okay. I went into jazz school just like you. I knew nothing about jazz. I was crooning. I knew as much as Frank Sinatra knew about jazz. Okay? And, you know, I had my only, and I, you know what? Lay into what you know, people. Really lay into what you know. Because they gave you an option for a classical piece. And I busted out like a Schubert German piece that nobody was doing, and it was a very complex piece that really laid into the tritones, and just to show off that I can do modal singing, and they ate that shit up. So lay into what you know. Experimentation during an audition is you're throwing a Hail Mary, and that's not a. Experimentation and improvisation are two different things, and the sooner that you know that, the better. There's so many different types of auditioning. So school auditions are stressful, yes, but it's for self-betterment. Competition auditions are...
Thank God I'm not a singer because I don't have to do what you did.
I aged myself with competition auditioning.
You know, I love, like, you know, American Idol was on, and you know, and all this, and I was just like, I never have to do.
Yeah. For those of you new to the auditioning world, those vocalists, I want to speak specifically to you. Most of your auditions are not going to be a cappella without music. The American Idolisms and stuff like that, it's very rare that you're in those situations unless you're in a situation like an American Idol or something like that, where they're really stripping things down and just want to hear your voice for the sake of hearing your voice. That's very much an intimidation factor.
Yeah.
And they want to see how you do under pressure and how you maintain your tuning and everything like that, and whatever technique they're actually looking for. Although I don't know how much technique the judges are actually looking for.
Yeah.
Auditioning for underground auditions, and there are underground auditions. You know, your local community auditions or provincial auditions or your choir auditions, whatever those kind of auditions that you're getting into are a little bit more structured, where you're coming up with different pieces, you're singing different scales, and it's your opportunity to show off. Okay, as a singer, you should already know how to do a bit of that. But I can't stress, and you know what was funny, and I'm going to speak, you know, sidecar singer right now, and speak more like instrumentalist. Learning scales, as stupid as it may sound, saved my career. It really did. Learning different ways to interchange and segue into and learning different sequences to get from one phrase to another, learning modal scales, learning how to incorporate them into a song, how it develops melodies, how it develops different song ideas. It applies to every facet of what I'm doing right now. And even if you're jumping into a gig and you're a hired gun, knowing how to do those things, as rudimentary as it may sound, but knowing how to do them with a precision, it will get you a gig. And that kind of confidence behind your playing will get you a gig. Know your shit. That's really what it comes down to. Just know your shit.
Yeah, I was thinking about this and how there's so many auditions in my life. I'll get through some of the stories for sure.
Yeah.
But one thing I noticed was anytime I went to a regular band audition where I walk in a room, jam room or whatever, and there's all the bandmates standing there waiting for you to come in, you introduce yourself, you plug into the amp that's supplied, and you start playing, I always got that gig. I never once failed that gig.
Why?
Because there's, I think, a lot of reasons. One, I was prepared, right? Two, I would almost say, we could almost go as far as to say, I don't know why this is number two, but dressing appropriately. Right, so
that's valid though.
Right, and I don't know why it just popped in my head.
Be professional.
But like, if you're going to try out for a country band, you know, don't wear your,
leather pants,
and punk rock shirt and your spikes and whatever.
Just the
Even
part.
if that's you, right? Like,
just the part.
You know, like it doesn't mean you have to go with the cowboy hat, because I didn't do that when I tried out for any country bands or whatever.
Kind of hoping that you did.
Because I think that might actually, if you go too far that way, that might actually ruin it.
That might hurt you.
You know, and just and being cool, man. Like,
be a good hang.
Being the good hang, because what ends up happening, at least what happened was, like, you play a song, and usually, you play a song, or maybe you play two in a row or whatever. But then after that, you start talking in between, and then you play another song, and you start talking, and then when the conversations last longer than the playing, you know you're in, because now it's like, okay, we know this guy could play the parts. Because generally, it's not like you're trying out for friggin' Museb or something. Like you're trying out for whatever, any kind of band, and they're notes. They're one note at a time. You get through them all in life, right?
And the funny thing is, like, without COVID, let's talk as if COVID's not a thing. You're with these band members more than you're with your families, and if you have a good relationship with the people that you're playing with, it makes your playing better. Because if you think about playing on stage with bandmates as a conversation, you want that conversation to be lighthearted. You want that conversation to be fun, because your audience sees that. They don't know what you're doing, but they see that you're having a good time, and that's important to putting on a good show. Okay, it's a conversation on stage, and when you're auditioning for these people, they're looking for stuff like that. They really are. Yeah,
you're gonna go on the road with them. They want to be able to have fun with you, and generally, if they're hiring just one member, they've already got a tight, little band there of friends, and they want someone that could slide in easily, right? Like you think of all the big bands that they fire guys. You're like, oh my God, why would you fire that guy? Or why would that guy quit? Because they just couldn't handle each other, right? They don't like each other. Yeah, that guy's a fabulous guitar player, but they leave. Or then, Chili Peppers get Dave Navarro, and then he disappears after an album, because it's just, they were buds, and they were bumping heroin together and everything before the band, but they realized that it wasn't the perfect fit for that band. Funny thing about that Chili Peppers with that was around that time, I don't know, their management, somewhere on the management came to Toronto looking for guitar players.
Yeah.
So Glenn Murray got to try out, and Dave Zimba got to try out, and I'm pretty sure many. I remember hearing about it. I was, I didn't know Glenn or Dave at the time actually, but I think I was in high school or something, and I remember somebody mentioning that someone had a chat, and of course you didn't try out the band. You went to somewhere downtown and you played the tracks or something, right? And everybody, and then but it was funny, they went so grassroots with that, and then they got Dave Navarro, and I think there was a lot of people that knew how grassroots they went, and then they went with this big star that didn't quite fit, other than they all shared the same drug dealer and postal code, right? And honestly, that's what it is sometimes, right? So people are like, oh, why didn't I? That's the other thing you got to remember, like, when you find out that you didn't get the gig, find out who got the gig. And that might answer a lot of questions instead of being down on yourself. Because that's what sucks about not getting a gig, is you never really know why. Unless if you get in a fist fight with the singer during an audition. Like, you kind of don't know why. Like,
get into fights with singers. They need it sometimes, all right?
Why didn't you get the gig, right? Like, my analogy to this all the time is like, you write a paper for school and you get 80%. The teacher tells you why you didn't get 100%. You leave an audition, you may never even hear from those people again.
You'll never know until the project comes out.
And even then, you might not know why, but when you look at the person they picked, you could find the answer. Either it could be anything, was you were a boy and they got hired a girl. Dave Navarro's the exact, he's a huge rock star, so they didn't want to get someone else. And always, don't get mad when you don't get the huge gig when you're like 17 and you try it out, because a lot of times you could maybe maybe you could outplay that person or whatever. Not even that's a big deal, but they want someone that could go on the road, right? So when they ask you that question is, have you ever been on tour?
That's an important question.
And you're like, no, I haven't, right? And then they're like, oh, man, this guy's great, but Joe Blow over here was just as great, and he's done 3 tours, and we need to make sure we have a guy that can last a tour, because there's people that once they get on tour, man,
you gotta cut your teeth,
right?
You gotta pound the pavement. You gotta do the shitty gigs. You gotta do all that stuff to prep yourselves for the dream job. It's just like any other job, okay? Cutting your teeth and doing the stuff that you never dreamed about doing. It's not selling out. Okay, you're adding to your resume to get yourself to the point where you need to be, where you deserve to be.
Exactly.
It's all part of the game. Okay.
Do the crappy gig when you're young, and then do the crappy tour, so that when you do, you know what the roads. Maybe you don't even like the road, man. Maybe or maybe you do the crappy tour and like, this is amazing. Imagine I could do with a band with some money behind it, right? It's so funny because I watched this Jack Bruce documentary this morning, and Eric Clapton, Ginger Baker approached Eric Clapton to, be in a band with him. Eric Clapton was like, I really want that Jack Bruce guy, not knowing that they already had, a falling out beforehand. And then once Eric Clapton figured out his exact words, where he's like, whatever, I'm 22, so I have nothing to lose. I'm 22, I have nothing. Not only like that, if he said, oh, I don't want to deal with these 2 guys that are jerks, he knew there was enough, that 3-piece was enough to do something.
Right.
And if it didn't happen, it didn't happen. But he knew it was enough to deal with, okay, they hate each other, but I think this still could happen. And I'm young, so I'm just going to do it. And that was huge, man. Cream, right?
Yeah.
For him, like, so you got to do it, right? Like,
exactly.
Not everything, but on the other side note of getting, I've gotten a lot of gigs. Like I said, I've passed a lot of auditions when I'm with the band. Now, a lot of the gigs that I didn't get is by not doing that system of, hey, I hear you're looking for a band. Cool, that's cool. Learn these 4 songs. Cool, okay. And then you show up and you play and you hang well and whatever. It's when I wasn't in that situation. So one was, I remember, while I was during Humber, I lived right next door to Wonderland, and I saw an open call audition for the music band, right? And I was like, this is great. I knew they didn't pay great, but I'm like, this is 5 days a week. And
it's a resume tick, man.
And it was awesome, right? So I'm like, okay, let me try out for this. So I called them or whatever I did. I'm sure it was a phone call. And then they sent me the information. So they wanted me to come with 2 pieces prepared on my own. And I'm like, well, I'm a bass player. Like, what do you mean? Like, so I decided, I can't remember. I remember the one song where they did Chameleon.
Yeah.
The bass line, then I played the melody, and then I forget what the other song was. Who knows what it was. And it was a terrible audition. It was terrible. Show up and there's like 30, 40 people in there, all auditioning for anything. Maybe singers, even the dancers. Everybody was in this big room.
Right.
And then it was like, okay, you're up next. You're up next. So then they call my name, and I'm like sitting down on a chair with my bass and everybody around, and I'm playing my 2 songs by myself. So first time I technically played solo bass, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was like this, and it was terrible. I know I didn't play well because nothing felt right, and it was really like.
You feel when an audition is not going well while you're auditioning.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just like, this sucked, and and then people didn't even, I don't know, clap. I remember it being like,
Yeah.
And everybody, and it sucks to audition in front of other people because there's other people in that room that are going for the same gig, right?
Yeah.
I always laugh at like, when people. Actors, right? They're sitting in the room and then they got to go in and do their 1 second. Like that would kill me. Like you're going to do 3 lines from a movie. Okay, next. And you're sitting in the room with them and you're all sizing each other up.
It's not even that. You're doing it 40 different ways. They want to see how many ways you deliver those 2 lines, right?
Yeah.
And, okay, slow it down. Okay, speed it up. Give me more sadness. Give me more emptiness. Give me less emotion. Emote more. They're doing it as if you're doing the takes in an actual film. Which is, it's very... and drink as many Red Bull as you can, because it's going to be a long process for the acting gig, man.
It's another fun one was graduate from Humber. Mm-hmm. I think you know it all, right? And I didn't think.
Of course you do. What do you mean you don't know it all after graduating from a music school?
So I remember in Now magazine, I think it was, or them looking for a bass R&B band. I was like, great, man, I could do that gig, right? I don't think I could have authentically, right? But I called the guy and we get into an argument over the phone, right? Because he goes, oh, tell me about your band. And I'm like, oh, I just graduated Humber, and he was like, oh, so you're a kid, right? And they were much older and probably super authentic, right? And he wouldn't give me an audition, right? Like, he just wouldn't try me out because of my age.
Green?
And maybe green, but mostly because I just finished Humber. And he's just like, I don't need I need Duck Done, man, And I'm like, yeah, man, I could do that. I could play those triads, right? No, I couldn't have. I'm pretty sure I couldn't have. But it was really but it was an eye-opener for me because he wouldn't even let me come audition for them. Right, and then
what did you learn from that? What did you learn?
What I learned from that was being exactly where I was. If that was like now, I'd be like, there's nothing to learn. But there, I was like, okay, let me take a second look and grab my Stax records and play to them and be like, oh, okay, the simplicity rocks, right? Yeah. And he just didn't want me coming in and wanking and whatever. And he was probably right, maybe not. But from that conversation, I know that if I got called by him or anybody else to play an R&B gig, my brain already switched to no groove, not notes, and so he had a point, and he actually helped whoever that gentleman was really actually opened my mind right away, because that's another thing. Why instead of getting angry, which I did on the phone, but instead of staying angry, why wouldn't he let me? And was he right or was he wrong? And test yourself. Mm-hmm. Go in the basement and pick up. Give
yourself the audition you would have had.
And then see if actually it was worth his time.
Right.
And then there was the Kiss tribute. I wanted this gig so bad.
You're telling me you couldn't handle the Gene Simmons?
That's what they told me. That's what they told me.
Single bass note or bass string.
So I was so far gone. I love Kiss and grew up with Kiss and freaking love Kiss. But
I love Kiss too, man.
I don't really put on the record, but man, it's just there's a reason why they're Kiss, and they just make you feel good when you hear them. And,
they come on the radio. I ain't changing the station.
Exactly.
I'm
turning it up. And I'm rolling down the windows. I'm not rolling up the windows.
No, these are not roll up window songs. So, for those of you that are wondering where we are right now, we are in the Buzz 505 studio. This space is completely rentable if you're thinking about putting on a show for yourself. We're going behind the hooks right now. Buzz 505 Studio features everything that you see here, except for MANNY and I. We will not come with your podcast.
But I've been known to help other people with their own podcast.
Yeah.
Being an employee here also.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great space. It's very comfortable. I don't think this would be possible without this kind of space and being able to do something like this. So if you are interested in renting out this space, check out the Buzz 505 website. Check out Buzz 505's various podcasts that they produce here in-house. And don't be afraid to reach out. This is it's a great space. It's really cool to be here.
Yes, you'll enjoy the vibe. Buzz 505.
Okay. Because you didn't tune down. Is it hot in here? It fucking hot in here.
Dan didn't come.
I'm starting to get heated. You didn't tune down. You lifted the tunes.
Lifted the tunes.
You played with some of the guys.
Just the guitar player.
Guitar player. Rhythm was gelling. Everything else was okay.
Yeah.
What the fuck does it matter?
I think
if you're tuned down or not.
I think for them it was a lifestyle, and it was serious to them. They didn't. The bottom line was they didn't think I was a big enough fan. Yeah. And for me, honestly, like, I don't know how long I would have lasted in the gig, but I still, to this day,
so if your hands, I'm sorry, if your hands are not landing on the same spots as Gene Simmons, you're not getting the fucking gig? Is that what you're telling me?
They're a tribute?
Yo, fuck those guys.
I don't know what the tribute was. I don't even know if they were a big one or a small one. But they lived it. They lived it, and they realized that I wasn't living it. That's another time where I should have showed up. Like, it was funny because my point of, I saw them walking down the road and I'm like, those are the dudes. Just because they lived that, you know.
Were they endorsed by Kiss?
Oh, I don't know what they were, but they really believed in it. It was very rock and roll.
It's not a religion, assholes.
It is. Kiss is
Hold
a
on.
religion.
The tribute band isn't?
To them it is.
Okay.
It's crazy.
If you play the songs great and you put great stage performance and you have the charisma, whether or not you tune down, look. There's been shows or different auditions I've done. So when I was Elvis impersonating, I wasn't singing songs in the exact keys as Elvis. I had a bit of a higher voice than he did. And then as I got older, there's some things I had to move around. But generally, Elvis always had a deeper voice than I did. Okay? So I moved things up to add a little bit more oomph to the stage performance. No fucking Elvis Enterprise people were coming up to me saying, you sang that a semitone higher.
Well, they did. They just didn't tell you.
Oh, well, fuck them. I still won. That's bullshit, man. That's so stupid.
Yeah.
That wasn't on you.
No.
That was not on you.
And that's actually another good point, is that there's times when you don't get the gig for so many other reasons. So many other reasons that you shouldn't let it get you down. Like that in particular, I laughed at it. I was like, you know, I just took it as like, yeah, I'm not that. It's not my lifestyle, right? And I wanted to do a gig, and to this day I still want to put on the whole Gene makeup and do one gig.
Okay, 401 Soul's doing it. Ian, next gig we book, we're doing a Kiss tribute.
I remember playing in somewhere in the bush in Ohio. No, you're New York State, and I was playing with the Jimmy Butler tribute band, and there was it was a tribute band day. There was the Eagles, our in Canada Boy Eagles guys, and there was a Kiss tribute. And it was so funny. I was like backstage watching them like do their makeup, and I'm like, how long does it take, guys? And it was such a fun day because it was all. And Les Zeppelin were playing, so girl tribute.
They're wicked!
I hope they're still together, but oh my god, I was side stage for that. We went on first or second, and it was great, so I just got to hang out all day in the sun, drinking beer and watching all the other bands, and they blew my mind. The Eagles blew my mind too. And it was just the Kiss thing, it was just like, I hung out with them. I was like, this is so cool, you guys are so cool putting on all this stuff for a tribute, and that was fun. And you know, there's another tribute band that I got in the room and played some music with them and got the gig, right? That's
a good time.
The thing, right? Like
tribute shows are a lot of fun.
They can be. Yeah, exactly. Like I'd love to do, you know, one of every band. You know, I'd love to do, you know, just go and do one Fleetwood Mac and okay, I'm good, and then go and do it because it's so much fun to. There was a time when. I didn't know what to practice because I was like, okay, well, I'm not doing jazz gigs, and I don't know. And so I just decided to like, and I had free time, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn all the Chili Peppers records. I'm gonna learn all the Led Zeppelin records, right? And I just go from the beginning to the end. And And I try, you know, I would do as much as I could, but I would definitely do the whole thing. Like maybe, like, you know, obviously some of the slap lead stuff, I never got it to 100% because I was just saying, oh, okay, oh, this is what he's doing to learn.
But you're
the technique,
tasting it, yeah.
right? And to get through all of it, to be like, oh, I get the way they grew. Like I could write a book on how Flea grew and changed, you know, and stuff, because I find it fascinating, like where you know, John Paul Jones, and you know, like just how crazy he was, you know, in the beginning, and then he kind of, you know, mellowed out and was more about, it wasn't about notes, it was about everything. So it was about, you know, let me play some mellotron on this, and let me play some mandolin on this. Like, I don't care if I even play bass on this record, right? I find that stuff like really cool. It's like, oh wow.
You just gave me a fucking wicked idea. Behind the Hooks books. Basically, it's us writing about certain artists and how they grow and their, like, what they did to change and evolve and stuff. We'll talk about this after the show. You gave me an idea and I like it.
You know,
that's cool. Yeah.
So for you know, like instrumentalists, it's I find auditioning. Okay, I find it to be. I think it'd be easier than a singer, because especially as a bass player, because it's like, okay, as long as you know you kind of look the part, that's great, right? Because you're not the focal point, you're the singer, right? So how does, like, I never understood, like, when I see things like, and then I literally laugh out loud when I see Tool tribute looking for singer. Aren't we all? like, you know, once you find the singer, and then you know, like, it's just stuff like that, like, you know, it's just like, no, wait, no, because the singer is generally the focal point.
Yeah.
So how do you audition for a band? And that's why you know, like, there's, you know, you stole the Ian Leslie vocal spot in the band, right? Like,
that's your audition, man.
Right, because,
a lot of the time.
So it's usually you get up and you know, and that's how you get, you know, the soul gigs. But like, have you tried out for band looking for singer must sound like?
Yeah, I did.
Like,
I've
how's
done a lot of that.
Like, how's that? Because it's so hard, because now you're super getting judged of your
are
face,
getting judged.
your moves,
Yeah.
your everything.
Everything.
Right?
So I did a lot of auditions earlier on in my career. I haven't done one in a while, I'm not gonna lie. I've done a lot more of the acting stuff lately, and you know, that's a learning curve all in itself. Singing auditions, if you're a lot of the time we're auditioning for agents. We're not really auditioning for bands. We'll audition the bands after we get the representation a lot of the time. But in a day-to-day scenario, if you're auditioning for bands, for a band, so certain groups looking for a rock singer or group looking for R&B singer, that happens a lot, and I did do a few of those. You're being tested on your range, your chops, your hang, and your look.
Yeah. And all are equal.
Oh yeah, no. There's no
an instrumental.
There's no one more than the other.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have an aesthetic about you, like a look or an attitude or the way that you carry yourself, you can have sex appeal and not be the best looking person. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's just just the ooze that you give off, right? I'm fucking Mick Jagger. you know, David Lee Roth isn't the best looking guy, but he gave off that.
Oh, those kicks! Come on.
That he gave that off, you know, like Robert Plant, guys like that, you know, and it's amazing how judged you are on what you look like, a lot, and I was fortunate to be decent looking enough to get by. When I was a lot younger, but your chops are still important. Hi, your chops are still important. You can't go into a rock audition with less than like 3.5 octaves. You can't. You got to be able to hit those Robert Plant notes. You got to be able to hit those Freddie Mercury notes. You may not get the phrasing right, but if you can hit the notes, that's a start.
Well, just the note alone may get you the gig. Because you'll be the only guy that could hit
exactly.
that.
So yeah, I'm not a big fan of people trying to go into range expansion, but if you could get into range enhancement, that's a good idea. And basically develop the range that you already have to a point where your mixed voice is very strong, like Steve Perry from Journey. So yeah, it's very being a singer going for an audition for a certain group is the most shallow thing that you can experience. A lot of the time they are looking for the right things for the right reasons, though, especially lately when that aesthetic, I mean, that can always be manipulated, like a Kiss thing where you can wear the makeup and stuff like that. You can't change your height, but you can. I find that more, it's more pinpoint in theater, where you know they're not looking to get their costumes tailored. They're not looking for you like down to the shoe size, man. I didn't get an audition once because I had black hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I could dye my hair, but no, it could.
That's what I find, like, you know, not getting the gig can be upsetting, but you have to, like, whatever, get over it, right? But for a singer, like, there's a lot of gigs you're not going to get because anything.
It's out of
color.
Things out of your control.
Yeah.
Things out of your control. And it's okay.
Yeah.
I have a rule for myself. And again, I haven't auditioned in a long time, but the way that my work ethic as a teenager was, I don't know how I did it a lot of the time. I'm thinking back on a lot of those things, but I gave myself one day to sulk if I didn't get a gig. I gave myself one day. The next day, I was back at it. I was looking for something else. I was looking for the next thing. I didn't have the luxury of giving myself a week to be like, poor me. Because I had 7 or 8 people behind me that were waiting for me to get the next gig, that were waiting for the paychecks that came from that next gig. So I didn't have the luxury of being like, woe is me, I'm gonna like sit and eat ice cream for the week and then I'll get to it when I get to it. No, I had people that were you know, being paid based on my success as well. It's not always going to be like that, and it's not like that so much now. You're talking a while ago where image was 92% of your career. Auditioning is tough. Singers have a little bit more of a harder time accepting a decline. Because you're not being judged on frets or keys. You're being judged on a physical attribute. Your voice is a physical attribute. And how you train something that we don't have dexterity control. We don't have frets on our vocal tissue. You're being judged on basis something that you were born with and are enhancing. So it feels like a personal blow.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's
when you don't get a gig. And it's okay to feel like that, but keep in mind, sometimes you're just not the right fit, and that's okay. You're a right fit for something. You're going to be the right fit for something. Go to those auditions that seem like way out there, that you think are like totally unreasonable and you're never going to get. Go for them anyway. Because you never know. Just because you're in a tribute band doesn't necessarily mean they want you to sound like the person. They just want you to be able to hit the notes. Going to audition for something stupid, for a commercial. You'd be a band in the behind the scenes thing. It doesn't matter. Just go for it for the sake of going for it. Add it to your resume saying, I went to these things. May not have gotten it, but it made me a better singer, made me a better player. That's okay, okay? I still deal with those things, you know? Okay, I'm almost 30, but I've been doing this for all of my life, and I've been doing this through a lot of transitions and evolutions through the music industry. Go for them. You have nothing to lose. You don't get... it's not like applying for rent. You're not going to get on your resume the bad auditions. Go for it. You have nothing to lose. It's not going to hurt your reputation getting a decline. That's okay. Get the rejections. Sulk for a day when you don't get the gig. Apply for something else on the second day. Go
you need
for
to
it.
learn how to walk in the room and not be all weird and nervous and sketchy, right? Because that's the thing now, like, because like my attitude is, I am what I am, and they're gonna hire me or not. I'm gonna work my ass off. They give me 4 tunes. I'm gonna learn those 4 tunes inside out.
Yeah.
Right. But from going through all these other auditions in my life, that I know that. So I'm not nervous when I walk through the door. I know if I know the songs or not. If I don't know the songs.
Yeah.
Or if it's not my bag, I just don't bother. Sorry, like I'm not gonna waste their time or my time. Fun things that kind of like another couple auditions I did. I know I did 2 times at Sony Music, and one was for Phoebe Dobson and one was for another act that I don't know if he ever made it. But I remember one vividly. I had to learn. I remember exactly. It was life changing because I had to learn Alive from Pearl Jam and The Middle from Jimmy Eat World. I was like, what are those 2 songs? So I get there and just some guy puts me on the stage with my bass, and so I'm on this huge stage. I don't even know.
Like a soundstage kind of thing?
Soundstage, horseshoe size. I don't know. Yeah, soundstage, lights. All the gear's there, the drums and everything, and
But it's just you.
just me, just me.
That's not intimidating.
And then there's a room, and then there's a back room with a window, and that's where the producer was, which were the Prozac guys, Philosopher King dudes.
Oh!
Yeah, because they were into a lot of building those bands. They had a great career doing that.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Super nice guys. But and then the artist would be in there too, and then who knows? I don't know who was behind there, but it was just so funny.
Management.
So I play Alive, and I nail it, and there's an opening harmonic slide, and I nail it, and I'm like, I bet you no one else did that, and whatever. And then what I liked about it was, so I finished that song, and they're like, that was great, man, over the speakers and everything. That was really good. Oh my God, you nailed it. Can you show us what you do on stage? And I was like, oh. And within the 2 seconds before the song started, I was like, what am I doing? I worked so hard on the friggin' note. It's Jimmy fucking Eat World. Like, obviously anybody can kind of learn that. And I concentrated so much on the notes that it was like, oh man, they're looking for a show. So they start the Jimmy Eat World song, and I'm like, and I'm like, fake jumps. like I don't even know what to do now. I was like, man, what am I doing? I'm trying out for a freaking 21-year-old kid, and I gotta be jumping around. I gotta be wearing cooler clothes than I wore, and I remember going, oh, okay, well, I know I didn't get it now. I was like, who cares about notes? I come down the stage, and they actually came out, and the kid was like, that was great. Like, he actually really liked me. Everybody was really super nice, but, I just knew walking out of there that I'm not a fit for what they were looking for.
Yeah.
And sometimes, look at who you're auditioning for, like, sometimes it's not really about the notes, which is so weird to say, because, Jimmy Eat World is 4 notes, and then there's a bridge that throws people off, which hilarious, because it's so repetitious that when it gets to the bridge, everybody's like, oh yeah,
blindsided.
Right? Blindsided by another note.
Yeah.
Right? And I think they threw in the Alive by Pro Jam because it had a few notes. It's like, okay, can you play? And then the way they lined it up too, right? They put the harder bass on first, and then the rock and rolls.
Totally.
After.
It's a listen to what I can do, and then show me what you can do.
And then jump up and down, and it was just so awkward to be on. I've never been on the soundstage alone.
Well, that's very rare that happens too, because usually there'll be other people on stage that you can feed off of.
That's what I wish. If I had a band there, if I had the singer there,
you just look like a crazy person on stage by yourself.
It was just so weird, right? It was just, but it was amazing because it was like, oh, it gave me another perspective of because it's an industry. The music industry is not a music, background.
It is a package.
There's a lot of things.
It is a package.
Every gig's differently, right? You're not going to try out for Weather Report and jump up and down.
No, yeah, you know your place.
Jocko, wait a second. Wait a second. Or you can be Jocko.
Yeah.
I do that.
You touched on something though,
But
where it is about the audition process, everything like that. I want to say a good 90% of the time, the people you're auditioning for are very supportive. They are going to be very nice to you. They're going to appreciate you coming out, taking the time, learning what you had to learn, knowing your shit, and coming in and doing what you have to do. 90% of the time, they are going to be great people that you're auditioning for, and they're going to give you either the constructive criticism you need to go on.
Not always.
Not always. They're going to give you that, or the experience is going to give you that, right? Because now playing with you in 4-1 Soul, I have a blast knowing I can lean over, look at you, and like you're gonna come up beside me, and we're gonna do like a rock back and forth kind of thing, and that adds to the show.
Yeah.
So an experience like that, if you didn't have it, we wouldn't have that kind of that gelling, or that another component to the gelling, right? So yeah, auditions don't make or break you; they enhance you.
There are a couple, Metallica did some kind of monster thing, and they tried out bass players on there. And I mean, a lot of it was for the movie, so they had like Twiggy there. And, and they had they were all big name guys, or named guys, and and just the reason why I say Twiggy is just like he wasn't even playing the bass part properly and everything. And I know a lot of it was for the movie, but that was a cool thing to watch. Because how excited they got over Robert Trujillo when it was over, like when they were like, man, it's the first time, someone could play these Cliff Burton lines and everything, and that's pretty, just that excitement was the cool part of it. But just watching, the process, that's a cool thing to watch as a musician. And then there's of course all the TV shows. Now, the olden days had some good shows.
Some crazy shows, yeah.
The NXS one.
Rockstar NXS was a cool one.
Great one.
That was proper. If I could ever call a competition proper.
They were really looking for a singer.
Yeah, and it didn't have to sound like Michael.
Yeah.
They were just looking for somebody with his charisma that can add to the element of the rest of their performance. The rest of the band, right? JD did a great job. He really did.
Yeah, he had a vibe to him. That was a good, I think you'll find that one. And then the other one, Supernova. That was pretty cool. I mean, it was cool. That was another, it felt cheeseball because it was Tommy Lee and Dave Navarro again. I mean, this guy's everywhere. Mr. LA. But that was kind of a fun one for rockers to see, right? Because right now, what do we have? The Voice, the Masked Singers, the American Idols. The
Masked Singer's not really a fair one. They're already celebrities, and they're just doing something to kind of flex a muscle that they don't usually get to do. The ones that I really look for are the American Idols, the Voice, the Shot, more Toronto-based ones, and the Launch.
Well, the Shot, yeah, the Launch was cool, yeah. Well, the Canadian ones are always a bit better, and I always think
they are, but they don't go far.
Yes, and that's what sucks. So if you do win, I guess watch the contract. I remember, when you watch American Idol and you're like, why didn't that person make the top 10? Because if you make the top 10, they own you in some shape or form.
There's an American Idol contract that happens, especially for the winners, where you're stuck for 4 years, and those 4 years they can't shelf you. And that happened with Kelly Clarkson. That happened with Carrie Underwood. Yeah.
They own you, and even if in the top 10, they own something of you. And it's I don't think I think if you made the top 10, I think you're
bound to
I'm
the
just
company.
talking right now, but I know
you are bound to. You're right.
I know they for touring purposes and everything, you can't tour. You got to tour with the American Idol crew. You're not doing your own thing until that's done.
That I don't believe is the case anymore since the revision.
Oh, okay.
After the Paula Abdul days and all that shit. But back in the day, even with Canadian Idol, I mean, you had guys like Jake Hogard from Headley who asked people on his MySpace to vote him off because he knew what was coming for him if he won.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
That happened, man.
Oh, okay.
And they did.
Yeah.
He ended up getting signed and they replaced the rest of his band anyway. But you can't escape the corporation sometimes.
No, that's a whole other episode of, talking about that, how but as far as auditions, just, you gotta be a dude
Yeah.
Don't be nervous.
Go in knowing that you know you
You need to learn. You gotta be prepared.
You gotta be prepared.
And generally, like regular rock and roll auditions, they're, you know, like if you're going for an original band, they're probably giving you 3, 14. Sometimes they'll give you, like, and then there's guys, and then remember, like, there's the people on the other end that might be green also. So they give you their whole album, and then just email them, call them back, and be, yo, like,
what do you want? What are you looking for here?
which songs do you want to do this time around? And then I'll learn them. Like, it's better to learn 3 perfectly than 10 badly, but be upfront about it. Be like, hey, we're getting together in 3 days, but I know I could get 3 down solid. Tell me which ones, and we'll do those. Because that'll, you know, if you could do that, then and you have the good hang and the good and everything, then they'll okay, let's do it again, right? Because a lot of auditions are more than once.
And sometimes your reputation is part of your audition. Like, you're gonna get, if you already have an established band and you have somebody filling in, what the fuck happened to you? You're auditioning by being a hired gun. Yeah. Because sometimes down the pipeline, there's already conversations within the band unit that you are going to be in the band because of the way, and you keep getting, if you keep getting called back, it's a good sign. Yeah, I mean, there's that, also that, the sub turn into like main guy kind of thing without even an audition or whatever, but there is a lot of that. A lot of times too, you know, when you get the call for the audition, you know, usually a band member, you know, I don't know, you know, when you're a band, so the drummer calls 2 people and the guitar player calls 1 guy and whatever, right? So a bunch of guys call, you know, so you gotta watch like how close, you know, one, don't disrespect the friend that called you or the fellow musician that called you. So never bite the hand, man. So don't, like, if you don't have enough time to prepare and you're not ready or you're not into the gig, just be like, dude, why? Just say, I gotta work 18 hours a day for the next 3 days and I can't do the audition, and then it passes and it's gone. Something. Yeah, don't make them wait. Don't go there and waste their time and fuck it all up, and then or be like, okay, or kill it and then be like, I really don't want this gig anyways. Like, you know, there's a, you know. Don't do any of that. Yeah, sometimes you'll surprise yourself, or the environment will surprise you. Yeah. So, I mean, go in with an open mind and come out with some learning experience. Yeah, and on that note, we will say goodbye. We'll see you guys next time. And then talk to you next time. Yeah, and we got books to write. We got Behind the Hooks books. I'm telling you, this is gonna be a fucking enterprise, man. We're gonna capitalize on this shit. See you guys.